Yeah. Hi, welcome to Passion for Life with Dee and Friends, and I'm Dee, and I'm here with some of my friends. Sorry, we had a little rain delay, so if you were looking for us at 8 o'clock, yeah, I think it's about 8:07 now. But we're still here, and we're live, and we'll go for the whole hour, and we're going to enjoy, inspire, hopefully give some knowledge, and hey, have some fun. So I'm Dee, and my passion for life is to give people the best integrity of life, and by giving them education, by giving them knowledge, because I feel knowledge is power. So I'm here with my friend. Hi, Diane.
Hi, Dee. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Very good, very good. Well, we always start, and with what's your power? What's your
Passion.
passion for life? Okay, here I messed up. We had what's your passion
My
for life?
passion is photography,
Uh-huh.
and I'm a pet photographer. I love animals,
Mhm.
and I'm also an actor, and I'm also in the wellness field. There's so many things I love to do. I have many,
Yeah.
many passions.
Yeah.
I love people.
And that's why we
And
got
that's
together
why
here.
we're all here.
Yeah.
And today we have a woman that's has a lot of power to her, and I
Right.
guess you can introduce her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, actually,
Sure.
hi.
Hi.
This is kind of funny. What we're going to be doing is this young lady. Hi, Natalie.
Hi.
Oh my gosh. I met Natalie on the telephone. And it was just one of those friends of a friend, and it's amazing how people connect, and we connected right away.
Yes.
It just hi. I think it was just like a hello. How
Yeah.
you doing? I don't even think you told me your name.
No, we started talking right away as if we knew each other.
Right.
And then, like, sort of about 20 minutes into the conversation, I said, oh, yeah, and by the way, my name is Natalie. So it was really interesting.
And it's just, I think we've connected and we are friends already. So
Yes.
thank you for coming out. And it was last minute.
Absolutely.
But you
My
made
pleasure.
it happen. And what's your passion for life?
My passions are many, first of
Mhm.
all. My number one passion, obviously, will be my daughter, and she's become such an amazing, beautiful young lady, and it's
Oh.
nice to see that. But beyond that, I think empowerment and commitment and really bringing back the idea that young ladies should really carry themselves with grace and with treasure who they are, and really to try to get them to understand that and to buy into that, and that the society has changed how they look at themselves and what they think they should look like, do, and they really need to think about that very deeply in terms of who they want to be for the long term and not just the short term returns that are, in music or in social industry or all of those things. And I think our youth are misled. I think that's something we need to address. Women in general have a lot of different issues around their looks and their persona and what they should look like or act like or be like. And I think that's another area of interest for me, and definitely communicating, connecting, and networking
Mhm.
with other like-minded women and young people, and helping them reach their potential, see who they are. I think I say that a lot. I say to
Right.
people, I see you. And when it's not just a visual thing, it's kind of like I see into
Yeah,
your heart
inside,
and what your
yeah.
passion is, and I want to help you actualize those things.
Right. Well, when I met you, I really didn't know you. I knew your name, and I knew who introduced us. But when I started seeing, well, I went to your website and checked you out. I was like, wow. Well, actually, well, when we were just talking, I was like, woo, girlfriend is doing some amazing things.
Thank
And
you.
I know with children, that's one of your passions. And when I checked out your website, you have, well, you were, what, principal?
I'm a principal of
Uh,
a school. I'm currently moving into a district position, director of elementary curriculum, which will
Right.
put me in the central office and
Okay.
working with 5 elementary buildings.
Wow.
Did
Yeah,
you start
I'm
teaching?
excited.
Did you start? How did you get started?
I started as a teacher. I taught primary grades. I love that. The primary grades to me are just amazing young children coming in and trusting you and wanting to know everything there is to know. So that sort of passion that they had is contagious. I
Mhm.
found that I wanted to know things, and I became a learner. You know, I've always been a learner. I like to read. I like to learn new things, try new things, and I like to impart that kind of energy to other people. So having taught kindergarten for a very long time in first grade, very exhausting, but a lot of fun and a lot of like, wow, you know, first time, first thing, and sharing that with the parents was always really interesting. When a parent, you know, a child that didn't speak, you know, started speaking, or not only just spoke, but became the narrator of your play.
Wow.
You know, for parents to come to an event and actually cry that they've never expected their child to be able to do whatever it is. Those things are, you know, monumental, and, you know, helping people create those kind of points in their life that matter,
Right.
you know, was really important to me.
Right. So
Well-
you became a mentor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, the fact that you went to school and you are now a PhD.
Right, EDD.
And what is it?
It's a doctorate of education
Oh, okay, cool.
in literacy studies. So
Okay.
how people learn, how people read, and how you become, you know, who you are in the world.
Right.
So literacy in a much broader sense than just reading and writing and those things, but how you come to know what you know.
Right. And you did what what is it when you put that whole, what is not the your
Dissertation.
dissertation, yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, because I haven't gotten there yet. You did your dissertation on what,
On early,
children and-
it's actually on literacy studies, and it's
Right.
on spaces. It talks about school space and what can you learn or understand about a school space that you visit or you're in. And it was very interesting because it took me a long time to kind of figure out, you know, what to do with the data I was collecting. I looked at classrooms, I talked to teachers, I talked to children, I talked to their parents, and my goal was to figure out what is it that you know about this place called school. You know, what do you figure out when you visit? What do you see, and how does that translate into understandings about schools for you? So one of the things I did was I took a tremendous number of pictures all the time. I was always taking pictures in my building, and it went from, you know, what is she doing, to we're having this great event, would you like come take our picture? So it over the course of the dissertation, it went from being like, you know, suspicious to being like welcoming.
Embracing,
So
yeah,
it sort of
yeah.
changed in terms of the feeling, the culture of the building changed. And the fact that I was celebrating the work that they were doing by taking these pictures and then analyzing them for the content, for the curriculum, but more importantly, the deeper meanings that they had, which was really more on a social emotional level about communicating with others, and what is it that we're communicating through the work we do by displaying it, and what is it that the students are communicating in communication with each other and with their teacher by doing this work. So it was deeper than just looking at, you know, the work that's up in a school and what does it mean in terms of curriculum or Common Core standards. It was more about the connections people were making to each other through that work.
Right, right.
And you also get involved with music and the kids and
do,
the arts,
yes.
which
Yeah.
is great.
There's another piece of that through the sisterhood that I belong to, the Malik Melodies Sisterhood Incorporated, which has been a very big part of my life. We created a network artists that are willing to share their craft with young students. And one of the reasons that became important was that arts were being taken out of the schools when the budgets were being cut. One of the first things that was cut was the art. And we found that that was crucial for certain kids that weren't accessing learning through the traditional methods of math or science or whatever, that the arts were their only place to hang their hat, and here it was being taken away.
Wow, I'm
Yeah.
surprised
So-
they took that away.
No, they
Yeah.
did.
They
And
did,
what,
wow.
the
Yeah, music and
singing,
art.
music and art.
All of those things.
And actually, I went to music and art high school for art. So when I saw that, I just felt embraced because my art teacher actually helped me get to where I needed to be because my parents were splitting up during that time. And when I was in junior high school, and she brought me under her wing because I was actually a truant. I probably was absent 50-something days in junior high school, and I was staying home, wasn't like going anywhere.
Right.
But she brought me, I didn't want to go to gym because I was overweight.
Right.
And they had these things,
Uniforms
and it was just
yeah.
not comfortable for me to be in. And I had such a low self-esteem. So she would bring me, excuse me from the gym, and I would go to her art class and do projects with her. And that allowed me.
That was wise.
Yes.
Yeah, it was wise.
Very much so. And I really, after all these years, I still embrace her.
Sure.
You know, as her being my mentor
Mhm.
to get me to where I needed to be. So
I
yeah.
think we need those multiple access points for kids. And sometimes music and art are actually easier to access because it's sort of universal. You can interpret art the way you want. It's also creative expression.
Right.
So it allows a student not this high level of I have to meet this expectation, but I can express myself and I can look at multiple artists and see that they were all different and they tried different things and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. So it gives them that flexibility and it allows them to forgive themselves for not being this great math student or a great social studies or a science person. But now I can learn those things through my art. And that becomes really important for a good teacher to be able to marry those two so that students are learning what they need to learn, but they can use the medium that is most comfortable for them.
Exactly.
And then they can bring them to those other areas. So as long as you can entice them, I think it's a great way to have kids really be more engaged in schools and have them put more effort into it, and also to connect. I think we connect through creative expression.
Definitely.
And we go to museums and we interpret the work that we're looking at through our own lens. But the artist had a lens as well. So I think when you do that for students and children, you give them some free reign of their own learning, and that freedom is really important.
Now they brought the programs back to the school, or these are outside of
Some
the
of the
school?
programs are back because the budget situations in different places have changed, but our program is meant to be an artist networking piece. We worked in DC and Maryland, and we found some artists that were willing to take kids in to try their art, to show them their own art. And my own daughter served as, basically a guinea pig for the program. And I took her down there, and we met several artists where she was able to go to their different studios and discuss art. And I watched a very, shy, reticent young person who wasn't sure about her art or what she wanted go from, not recognizing herself as an artist to being talked to like an artist. And by the time, the weekend was over, she was conversing with other artists as an artist. And she
Right.
talked about her likes and dislikes, and other artists pointed out, "Oh, you love color. I'm very, scared of color. I don't
Right.
really use that
Yeah,
color."
yeah.
So when they treated her as such, she came into her own as an artist and became that became an important pivot point in her seeing herself, her work as valued and valid in a community that actually does that kind of work and through trial and error. So I think it gave her permission to be herself.
I think
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
And gave her that yeah.
See, I'm a photographer and I love the
So
arts,
you-
and I
yes.
think that's
Yeah.
great. And I have a niece who's 13 or 14 now, but at 2 she sings opera, and she,
It's amazing, right?
she went to a private school, but it doesn't matter if private or not private. She had the opportunity, to be in plays, and she's, her music is outstanding.
That's
and
her
I
resource.
think that's so great
yeah.
that children, I started playing piano when I was 7. So I love music, and that was a big, music is a big part of my life. I love
too.
photography because I love to see the outside world, you know,
Well,
in my lens.
My daughter's chosen
Yeah.
to go into photography
great
at this
field.
point. So yeah, we're very excited about the work she does. She's very specific about what she wants to do and what she won't do, and that's okay. You shouldn't, you know what
Right.
you're interested in, and I applaud her for being, driven in a particular way and motivated to do specific things, and other things that don't interest her, she just doesn't really bother. But I don't know that schools are designed around that kind of
No.
commitment to an art as they should be. And it's difficult because it's a system, it's a universal system that's used, in the United States that doesn't necessarily value that. But if you look at the artists and the musicians and theater, we clearly value it later on. But where are they supposed to get that? Where are they supposed to become those people?
You have a lot of different programs that you're also empowering and
Yes, I worked more recently. Social entrepreneurship was a really big interest of mine. We worked with young students. We brought them together with specialists in different fields, and we had them talk to those people and find out, well, what can you do? How do you create? How do you become an entrepreneur? How do you do a business? All of those things. So we tried to build all that together into a program that we called Lift Up Long Island. And it came about after Hurricane Sandy.
Okay.
So as a result of that, that was a natural problem. What happened as a result of that, and how do we fix some of those things? And kids are so incredibly creative and innovative with their ideas because they don't know what the parameters are in terms of, building codes or things like that. They just were like, well, we could just do this, and that would solve
just
that
make
problem.
It simple, yeah.
And then taking that one idea, that concept, and bringing it to a level where it actually can be implemented is what the mentors in the program would do, is teach them, you need a business plan, you have to be able to pitch, you have to be able to, talk to your local politician or your local businesses and get what you need. So again, teaching them how to network, how to leverage their connections was an important piece of that, and it was very successful.
And I saw that you had a couple of movies, or where you
Boy, you're really jumping all over the place.
We have to get everything in because what's that
see that.
statement? What's
time
that
goes
statement?
very quickly,
You said there's not enough time to
Well, you know
share
what?
everything.
Okay, let's talk. What do you want to share about?
Well, I could talk about the movies.
Okay.
I'm an educator, so I always want to impart knowledge on others, but it's not necessarily my knowledge. So what I did was I found movies that really were provocative and talked about the state of education in a number of different ways, and then I showed those and had open forums so people could attend when they wanted. So the most recent one I did was Code Girl, because coding is a big thing in schools, and I think people aren't even sure what that is just yet. They're not aware of it. But coding goes way back to the very beginning of when computers started. Computers, it was all coding, and that was foreign to many people unless you went into the field of computers. And now it's becoming more mainstream, and it's become a very popular topic in schools. So Code Girl is a movie that I showed about young women who participated in an international contest, and how they had to develop an application that could be used and solved a problem in the world. And again, it ties back to the social entrepreneurship in looking at problems that exist and trying to solve them once and for all, as opposed to just donating money or collecting coats or things like that, which we do as well. And they have a value, they have a certain level of value. But if we could solve the underlying issue, then we don't have to do those things anymore. So the social entrepreneurship end of it goes into really looking at what is the core problem, and how do we develop something that can fix that problem, and then move on to fix other problems. And maybe it works here in this neighborhood, but it doesn't work the same way in that neighborhood. So really understanding that particular space that you're in and trying to solve it for those people. And one of the most interesting things that happens is you have to talk to those people, because they may not perceive it as the same issue, or they may think of it a different way. So you really need to know what you're getting yourself into when you look at a problem and how to fix it. So the movie talks about these very broad, problems in different parts of the world, and they come together. And one of the interesting pieces is that the teams that were in United States versus teams that are in other parts of the world, the United States teams were doing, things that were relevant to their areas, and these other teams are doing things like, changing the sewage systems and, garbage pickup that, impacts like a million different people, and the
Right.
water is it's contaminated and things like that. And they even figured out, they were like, wow, those are much bigger problems than what we're trying to solve. And that was really interesting, just to bring the world a little bit closer,
The
to say that,
awareness.
wow, there are some really big things that
Yeah.
need to be solved, and we could be working on those things as well
Yeah.
as what's local. So I think the global perspective is a big one, teaching kids about their environment and
Yeah, you're doing it.
consciousness,
Right.
being conscious about what they're doing, and making good choices that don't not only affect them but affect their progeny, all of those things.
So you work a lot outside in nature.
Yes.
I read too, which is great too.
Yes, I did a
Yeah.
nature preserve revitalization project, where we took a space that had been used for instruction, that had fallen in disrepair and disarray, and we kind of marshaled all the forces in the community to go back and to clean it up and to really bring it back to its original state, where you could take kids through and teach them about nature on Long Island. And that's something, of a legacy for a particular person that we really want to maintain.
So there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. Absolutely.
And I actually didn't get your website until probably about
Yesterday?
No,
Oh, today?
Today I got it, and I was at work, so you should see me trying to. Wasn't very successful, but Diane got a chance to
I
read
got
it.
to read. Very interesting.
Thank you. I
Very.
appreciate that.
But no, I saw that it was a lot. Well, just by talking to you for, I don't know, we talked about it half hour,
Half
45
hour, yeah.
minutes or so, and I was feeling you. I said, nice connection, and I felt very much the same. We were like-minded.
Like-minded.
And
Mhm.
there was a lot of things that I'm very much interested in. And
Yeah, we definitely connected.
Yeah, and I
when
know
we
that
spoke.
you also did something with cancer.
We've done different walks
Yeah,
and supported,
yeah,
breast
supports and
cancer and
what
things
have
like
you,
that. So any of those things that bring, a real problem, particularly for women, to the forefront are part
Awareness.
of our initiatives.
Right,
So,
yeah.
the Malik Melodies has been instrumental in so many different things in all of our lives. We're such a connected group of women,
Mhm.
and there's no place for ego. It's
Right.
really about, okay, that's your strength. I'm going to call you and say, I need your help with this.
Yeah.
This is what you do. I call you. You have to put those things aside where we're, vying for attention or vying to be better than the other person, and really say that each person you run into is in your life for a reason.
Right.
They have something to offer.
right.
So when you come at them with ego, you don't open yourself to what that blessing might be.
Mhm.
And I think it's really important that when somebody is brought in your path, I think it's for a purpose. You're supposed to learn something from that. And you can be very close to that and try to be better, and those power and control things take place, and it doesn't help you.
Mm-mm.
But if you can open yourself to what is this experience for, what am I supposed to learn from this or take away from it, you can build some really solid connections. And I think women in general have learned to be defensive, and for a number of reasons, not wrongfully so, but I think it's hard to put those guards down and say, okay, she's not trying to challenge me or take something away, but to be able to say that, we can be better together.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah. Actually, I had a partner. I think God just puts a lot of challenges in to just make you stronger.
Mhm.
Okay. So I had gotten into. I'm a lab technologist, but now I'm in the management, and so I had a partner. We had the same job, but the problem was that she was supposed to get a manager job. So they kept her on that vein,
Mm-hmm.
but we were same.
Right.
So therefore, we're supposed to be privy to everything the
Right.
same.
Mhm.
And she was strong with certain things, and I was strong in other things. Because
Right.
I'm a solver of problems, and she was very organized, and I'm so not. So, and she was not
Right.
as.
So it's balance.
It was a balance, and I said, "Listen, we're husband and wife, or wife and wife, or whatever. We have to balance each other. We don't throw each other, throw us under the,
Under
under the bus
kind of thing, right?
because that's what people were doing.
Right.
I was like, wait a minute, you don't have to do that. Why not embrace me for who I am and engage me? But because she wanted to be brown nosing or whatever, and I'm just not that type of person. You want to be able to engage a person, to help a person, and then let's just move and we work better together.
And that's how we hooked up. I was
Yeah.
a guest here at first, and then Dee needed some help, and we became a team.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's something that is it's out there in society, then we need to pay attention to it. There is this competitiveness that drives people away. You drive people away because you want to be better than, you want to know more, you want to have, the answer, and nobody really has the answer. And some of that comes from a lack of self-confidence. It's just a matter of understanding who you are and who you're not.
Yeah.
When you know who you're not, then you can embrace somebody else. You might be the math person or the photographer.
Right.
I'm the creative designer. You're the artist. And putting that all together creates such beautiful work in the world. But you have to be open to it. You have to let your guard down enough to say, all right, I need to be confident in who I am.
Yeah.
What is it that I have to offer?
Yeah.
And know what your talents are.
Right.
And then be able to recognize others' talents. But it's not something that's fostered in our young children, and I think it's a super important.
And it's also supporting each other,
Absolutely.
and being positive with positive people. And if we could all support each other and just stay like that, I think we'll have a much better world.
Yes,
Well, yeah.
absolutely.
Kindness and
Well, most of the time, those people, I'll tell you, with right now in my life, God has just been putting, or the universe has been putting so many positive people in my life. And there's some negatives, but those people are just falling by the wayside.
Right.
And it's just, you thought they were in your corner, and then all of a sudden something happens, and you're like, oh, okay, well, it was revealed. And so you have to recognize it and then just deal with it and say, okay, well, it wasn't a good fit at this point. So, but the strength that I have been getting from all these positive people, it's just,
unbelievable.
It's
It
truly,
really is.
it's a little overwhelming, but not. And I'm embracing it because, like you said, I'm weak in certain things, but then, thank you.
Right, but you walk in your strength.
Exactly. And that's why Diane helped me out tremendously with when I was going through, I had so much going on. Like, I'm like you, school, working, taking care as a caregiver. I had my little business, had the TV show. I was like, okay, how am I doing this? And of course, you're supposed to take care of your home. So priorities.
You are?
Well,
Yeah,
you got to deal with the priorities. It's like some things just not going to happen all at once.
Right.
And it's okay. We'll
That can
handle
wait.
that. But it all came together, and it's just it allows you to breathe.
It does. I think people ask me, how do you get all that done? And when you're in balance, I think when your life is in flow, it doesn't seem like a lot. I have to sit down and actually look at my own curriculum vitae sometimes and go, who is this person? Because I don't think of myself that way. So when people see my website or whatever, it takes a lot. I go back to my website constantly and go, wow, I really did that, or I'm doing that, or I'm involved in this. And all of those things at once are working because I'm connected to the right people.
Yeah.
And the people make it happen for you. So your networks are so incredibly important. And I think, I think women are starting to wake up to that concept of networking and empowerment and, taking the best of what you have and sharing it with other people, and then understanding what they have to offer and how it could benefit you. And that would make people so much stronger.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know that, when you're insecure, you have to blow yourself up or what
Right.
have you. But just if you are you,
Right.
you just be you. People don't realize you don't have to be somebody else. You don't have to just be relaxed. Do you have that. You did
Right.
that. Okay? It's okay. You don't have to tell everybody what you did. Just
And sometimes I think it's harder than, it's not as simple as it sounds. It is
Yeah,
about being
yeah,
you, but when you see models, and you see this, and I'm supposed to
This is
look a
true.
certain way and
This
dress
is
a
true.
certain way and have a certain job. You kind of get lost in that, and like, okay, well, I need to be better. I need to be not who I am, but I need to be this, or I need to look like this, or have this, or show off this way. And we get lost in that a lot. I think all women do. And you kind of decide, like, ooh, I wish I was thinner. That's a big one. I wish I had longer hair. I wish I had longer legs, or whatever it is. And you get stuck in that as opposed to looking at what your talents are. And I think that happens very, very often to each of us. I don't think it's something that you can avoid, because it's around you, and it's such a message. It's a constant message of what you lack, what you don't look like, what you don't have. And that's the way our media is set up.
But you're right. But that starts when you're younger, and
I was
that's
just
why
gonna say that.
if you have a child or a youngster that builds that self-esteem, because I know I was one of those quiet young persons that was very insecure because I had the buck teeth. I was like 200 pounds at the age of 12. So I had some challenges, and wasn't as support with my family as because I wasn't the thin one. I wasn't
the athlete
what
or
have
whatever
you.
it is, right?
But so insecurities were there, So but I had the educators, I had the teachers that saw that there was something there, and they encouraged me and helped me. And so, being that you're a teacher and you encourage those children, do they come back to you?
Yes, they do. There's a young man that I think of very often. His name is Alex, and one of the brilliant young man, and he was in my building when I was a principal, and so I never actually taught him, but I knew of him and I knew his work and his work ethic, and I was impressed by him, and he asked me to speak when he became an Eagle Scout. So he had gone about his business, I had gone about my business, and I get this request that he needed to do an Eagle Scout project. Very polite, dear, and he lays out what the project is, what he's thinking, and this, that, and the other. And just to show you his drive, I received no less than 50 emails from this young man about laying out specifically exactly what he was doing. I was like, all right, now I'm really, I'm impressed. He wants to do this project, and he did, and he accomplished it. And I spoke when he got his Eagle Scout award because I was so impressed by his determination. It's like such a young age that I want to make a difference. I want to come back to the school that I went to and do something for them. And he did, and we had several conversations back and forth. He did the project, completed it, and it was so incredibly meaningful to the other students that this was an alumni of the school that had created this project for them. And there's a lot in setting a tradition, setting a bar, creating things that are a legacy for kids, like teaching them about legacy. He left something in that school that is so incredibly important. He's at, I think, MIT or one of the technical schools, and he's doing phenomenal work. And then, what's nice for me is that years later, he asked me to write a recommendation for him for another program, a very high-level program. And it was nice to know that he felt comfortable asking me to do that, and I was more than pleased to do it for him. So there are those moments, those moments where you're like, okay, something I did mattered, and it really made a difference for this particular person.
Exactly.
And you need that. You need that kind of affirmation.
When I was in high school, I was very into fitness, and the men used to have, the kids, the boys used to have the bodybuilding room, and we didn't.
But not the
women.
girls, right?
And I fought for it as a young child when I was in 10th grade, and I won, and I got it. And women used to go into the men's, little locker room or whatever it was, and we were able to do it.
Yeah.
And I brought that up, and I've been in the fitness field since I was 19 years old. And, that was something I fought for.
No, it's important because
Yeah.
I know that I was so not into dealing with people because I was so scared of people. But then all of a sudden, I felt that people always were comfortable with me for some reason. I guess because I smile or whatever. And so after a while, I used to cry if someone looked at me too hard, and or if I had to go up and talk in front of a classroom or anything like that. But then all of a sudden, I'm here doing this now, and I just said, well, I have to do it. But people made me feel confident that in myself, and well, I was able to just embrace life, and
that's what happens. I
No,
think
yeah.
I was in the
Beautiful.
military as a Army reservist, and one of the fields that I was really good at was field artillery. And at the time, women were not allowed in the field artillery. So what's interesting is they let you try all the different areas. And, field artillery is really your I was giving the coordinates for where, things would get dropped, or, we're going to take care of this area has, the enemy or whatever. And I just found it fascinating to look at the, the coordinates, the speed of the tank or whatever it was, and figure out, okay, if I give you this coordinate right now, we can, basically obliterate that location. Of course, it's an exercise, but I just found it so interesting. And I'm not a math person, but the spatial pieces of it I really understood, and I was good at it. And it was interesting to me that was the field, that was one of the fields that women were not allowed in when I was in the military, and that has since changed. So even watching the transition that, where they weren't letting women in certain areas and they felt that wasn't the right place for you or you wouldn't be able to do it, sometimes you do have that talent. I've met so many different women. There's a lady that I met who was an engineer back in the 50s and 60s where it was unheard of. And she was really good. And she was the one that, like, NASA would call up, like, can you confirm these coordinates? Can you confirm this for us before we do anything with this, going up into space? And so it's so interesting that, standing in your talent and being able to say, this is what I can do, and fighting for it is really an important
Well, I
piece.
became a trainer, and I've helped out so many people over the years, and that's what I'm all about. I'm all about changing people's lives also. And I'll bring up one quick story. I worked with someone in the Special Olympics, and he was in a wheelchair, and he was into the bodybuilding, and I worked with him. And after the tournament, he won the medal, and he came to me with his wheelchair where I was sitting in the stands, and he handed me the medal.
Aw.
So till today, I'll never forget that story, and I still have the
Sure.
medal. And
That's
I pulled it out
amazing.
the other day. I still look at it, and I think of him. And I see his dad from time to time, and I
Right.
ask about him. I would love to see him.
well,
But
you made
that
a difference.
that
yeah.
made a difference
Yeah,
in my life,
yeah,
and
yeah.
just helping people over the years, and still helping, which we're
Yeah,
all doing.
yeah.
and
Now
trying to
imagine
change.
how many other people you've actually helped that may
Right.
not have that, that return. You may
Right.
not have gotten the return, but there may be so many.
Oh, so many other people.
And that's-
Yes, and every day we're all still
Yeah.
doing it. Dee and I, we're
Yeah,
still,
yeah. Well, that's why at this point I'm not really sure where I'm heading at this point, because I did just complete a health coaching program, and am I going to deal with the children? Am I going to deal with the adults? Am I going to do both? Because I do find that when I share my stories with the kids, because I've been there, they relate to me,
Absolutely.
and they embrace me. You can see the difference in the self-confidence.
Sure.
And because I've gone to a lot of different empowerment for young people and older people, and some young people are there, and they're there with their mom, and they're like, oh my gosh, why am I here? And you can see that they're a little insecure or what have you, and I've gone up to them and started talking, and they always do remember, and they just feel, I can tell I touched them. And it's something that needs to be done to get that self
Sure.
confidence.
Absolutely.
Because I know myself, it was torn down, and to now be doing things that I would never imagine, and I still have a lot of growth to go, because you have to continue to grow.
Absolutely.
But it's just to share, to be able to share, and to meet people that want to help me grow, and then help others grow, and we help each other grow. So it's really kind of cool.
Now, there's a program Dee was talking about. It's like a 18-minute, and it like you can empower someone and
Oh.
talk about
Those
that.
are
Inspire.
Yeah.
TED.com, TEDx.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm involved in a TEDx coming up in Deer Park in February of
Okay.
2017. And it's TED stands for Technology, Engineering, Design. And their ideas worth spreading is basically what their motto is. So basically, in 18 minutes or less, you should be able to give a clear, focused message that inspires your audience. So I'm so intrigued by the difference, and there's so many different in every area that you could think of. If you go to the website, you can just watch you just watch one after the other. You know, you have to kind of turn it off after a while. But you get such incredible ideas, and people are so incredibly creative in the way they chose to express themselves. It's really a celebration of who they are and what they've been able to do. A lot of it is about different people's journey from where they were to where they are today. So it's really fascinating to see a forum that was created just to do that, but also to give information to others about what the possibilities are out there. So I love the TED format. So I became, I applied for a license, and I received a license recently. And so I'm putting together a smaller one. The local ones are called TEDx because they're independently organized. So this one will be in Deer Park in February. So I'm doing a collection of presenters now. I'm working to develop a team and looking for sponsorships, etc.
See, when I see young kids now, I tell them, make sure what you pick in your field, you love what you do, because you're going to wake up every morning and you're going to do it for the rest, not the rest of your life, but you're going to be doing it every day.
Unfortunately, when you're young, sometimes you don't know what you want.
Right, you don't.
Because the thing is, I always liked science, I always liked math, I liked art, but I didn't know what to do with it. So I thought I was going to be a doctor. But then once I was in school, I was like, do I really want to be a doctor for what? For the money, or to help people, or what? So I didn't really know. So I decided I better get some kind of technical when I walk out of there. So actually somebody encouraged me. So I became a medical labs. I went and studied medical lab sciences, and I could have gone to become a doctor at that point. But then I just started working as a technologist, and I worked, and I never went back to school until recently. So now my more passion is about helping people get healthy.
Right.
So with me getting healthy, because I got healthy, because this is my journey.
Right.
And so this is probably part of the doctoring, but it wasn't a doctor. Yeah, it's a different way. Yeah, so you don't have to necessarily do it one way.
Right.
But now I want to go back and get my master's in nutrition, holistic nutrition.
Right, so the doctoring was in your spirit.
Right,
so it didn't have to come across as a medical doctor.
Exactly.
Right.
Sure.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
That happens, I think, for a lot of people. You have to actually figure out what it is that you're here to do.
Right.
You know, and do it to the best of your ability. And sometimes we don't necessarily read those messages well. You know, like, oh, I'm supposed to be a doctor, but I don't really like blood, and I don't like, you know, to be in an emergency room. So what does that mean?
Right.
But you could be healing.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
that maybe the message there for you was about healing, and not necessarily about being a medical doctor.
Right. A caregiver. Actually, I realize now I'm a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
So that's who I have been for probably about 20 years. Actually, probably when I was a kid, because my mother had children, foster children, and I was the oldest.
So you were always.
So I was always the caregiver. So there it is. You know, and I guess that's why I am who I am. But
everybody has their own passion. Like, I was at the pool the other day, and I was asking one of the lifeguards, I said, what are you going to school for? And he says, nursing. And I'm looking at myself, I go, nursing. And I go, you know what? I give you a lot of credit, because that's something I can't do, you know, and that was his passion.
Right.
So I really, you know, looked up to him saying, oh, you're going for nursing? I'm saying, wow, that's really great. That's your passion, and you're going to love doing that.
Right.
So everybody has something else that they love to do.
did you always want to be an educator, or?
Yes. When I was very young, I wanted to be a teacher.
Really?
I knew exactly what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go to school. Very direct about what I want. Very driven. So I picked up where my classes were and which classes I would take and what departments,
Okay.
etc.
You know what? We have to take a quick break.
Sure.
Because we're having some technical. We'll be right back.
Galaxy Luxury Coach is a full-service limousine and party bus company. Family owned and operated, we are an industry leader with over 25 years of experience in providing best-in-class luxury transportation for your special event. Whether it's your precious wedding day, an all-day wine tour out east, your high school prom, that special birthday, or just an amazing night on the town, our professional chauffeurs stand ready to ensure your special event is truly special. Galaxy Luxury Coach has one of the largest and modern party bus fleets in the New York area. Our party buses are simply nightclubs on wheels. Concert sound systems, light shows, lasers and strobes, multicolor LED lighting brilliantly lights your party bus inside and out. For corporate and more laid-back events, we will cater to your specific needs and requests. What sets Galaxy aside from all others in the luxury transportation industry is our attention to detail in customizing our services to your special event. At Galaxy, it's all about you and your guests. Galaxy customers return.
Hi, welcome back to Passion for Life with Dee and Friends. And, well, that was a quick break.
That's the way it is.
Technical difficulties or what have you, But, well, we only have a few more minutes left. So we're going to, I don't know what we were talking about before we had that little technical difficulty.
I think we kind of we went, basically all around. But I think, one of the biggest things we talked about was networking and communication.
Yeah.
And really allowing people into your space. And I
Right,
think that's
right.
difficult. I think people have been hurt, whether it's by family members or relationships, and people are they can be very standoffish, and
Right.
sometimes you don't let the right people in. You've already let the wrong people in, so you end up blocking yourself from the blessings that you could be receiving. And I think it's an important message to kind of give everybody a little bit of that space to meet you where you are. And find out what could they possibly offer you. And sometimes it's not really a matter of like, oh, I can, bring you a better job or things like that. It's really all about what you need. I think people are put in your path and they have something for you. And it's figuring out what that is. It could be a message, it could be a new plan, it could be a new idea, it could be a new friend, it could really be a lesson that you need to learn.
Yeah, I was just going to say a
It could
learning
be a lesson,
experience.
right?
Yeah.
I was
So
just going to say that.
you should walk away from. If you walk away from something, you should walk away with some new knowledge. And I think one of the quotes that is always in my head is that you're destined to repeat the lessons that you haven't learned. So if you keep picking the same thing, that means if the same thing keeps happening, you haven't learned the lesson from
No,
it yet.
you haven't.
And you have to think about that. You choose a certain type of guy, and it happens over and over again. It's not the person, it's you. There's something about you that draws you in that direction, and you keep picking the wrong way. And those are the kinds of things we need to be very cognizant about ourselves, and learning who you are, and being in balance, understanding a lot of those things. And by no means am I perfect in those things. Some days it's all about work, some days it's all about my daughter, some days it's all about the car is broken down somewhere. You get in the muck and mire of everyday living. But I think you have to take time to sit back and say, okay, what's really important? It's really just a car. At the end of the day, it's just a car. Nobody got hurt. It's not anything that's super important and matters to me. So the most important things in my life are stable, and they're still being taken care of, and I think that's the bottom line. And being able to kind of decide that were this an emergency, would we be okay? Are the most important things in my life safe? And I think that's really where you need to spend more time and less on the material.
Yeah. Well, that's where I'm at too, because I feel like a lot of people put this negativity out there, and that negativity has to just stay away. If something happens, take it as for a reason,
Right.
and make it into a positive. Because you can turn everything into a positive, because it's like a lesson learned.
Right.
And so at this point, I say, well, yes, there's so much going on, but the lessons are so, you just have to embrace them and engage and share.
Right.
And because I know that the power is in that knowledge. So that's where I'm at. And so meeting people, and I always met people, and I didn't know how to really follow up with those folks, and I have to learn how to follow up. People have to teach me how to follow up, you know. But now I'm trying to learn how to do that. So by calling, time is at it.
Time is
it's kind of
that
challenging.
makes it difficult.
It's very challenging, but now you can't do it by yourself.
Right.
Like
Right.
you were saying, networking.
You have
So
to network.
somebody is strong. I have a girlfriend that I've known since I was in high school, and she says, we make one good person.
Yin and yang. I get that. I totally get that. Yeah.
And because she's amazing doing all those little intricate things, and I'm just, hi, how you doing? Let's do that. Move on. And she's like, I don't really want to meet anybody. so she's, I'll call and I'll follow up on, but I'm not gonna meet nobody. I'm just gonna stay right here, you know. So
What's
but-
interesting is even attending like any kind of seminar or luncheon or whatever, I always go in like what's out there? What are the possibilities?
yeah.
Who am I going to meet? What are they going to have that, you know, might be interesting? And when you go in open-minded, you get so much more from it. You know, it may not be the keynote. It may be the person sitting next to you that somehow is
Exactly.
much more interesting and has something
Yeah.
of value to you. You never know. You're always where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
You
I
know?
went to see a lecture the night I met Dee. I was going to see a friend do a lecture, and in the next room, Dee was there, and that's how I met Dee.
Exactly.
So that's how we connected.
Well, it's funny because the gentleman that we got connected with is Haim. And
Right.
I met Haim at a networking event. And we tried to get together, but he wanted to meet me here. And I was like, no, you meet me here. And we just didn't meet.
Right.
So a year later, I went to another networking event. And I'm one that will go by myself. Because people, oh, I got to go with somebody. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to go by myself. You know, if you don't want to go, I'm going.
Right.
So I went, I was late, and I sat down, and we were all talking, and they're finalizing their little event, which I missed most of it. And all of a sudden, everybody's starting to give out cards. So the gentleman turns around and gives me a card, and it was Haim. I was like, Haim, I met you before. He looks at me like, I don't know you. I'm like, yeah, you do.
And that's where she came. And the most important thing is we had a show, and we did the circle, and the middle is what's the most important thing in our life. And then outer is how do we change it. And then the third is, you know, our job, the people we hang out with. And it's just a way of changing and, you know, changing our lives to make it better and
Yeah.
changing other people's lives.
I think sometimes you get used to things that are not good for you.
Yes.
You know, you may get caught in a situation or a job or whatever it is, and it's comfortable because you know what you expect, and the unexpected can be so, you know, terrifying for
Scary.
people. It's like, I don't know what that's going to be like. If I left this job, then what do I do? Or if I left this person, what do I do? And sometimes walking away can be really hard because you think like, I'm supposed to have a job, I'm supposed to be married, you know, all these things, these shoulds that we have in
And
our
I
heads.
felt like that years ago, but now I feel I want to take every chance. I want to do everything. I feel very open to everything now.
Yeah, but
It's
that-
a very
that's-
good freedom. It's like
I
being
applaud
free.
that, but that's not
Yeah.
everyone.
No. Well,
That's a great feeling.
I understand what you're saying. You're saying stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
And to step out your comfort zone, sometimes you can't.
Right.
You know, it is scary. But God does put those things in your life.
The opportunity
kind of
is
push-
always there.
but-
It's always there.
But also pushing you, you know,
Mhm.
because I know that with myself, at this point, I've been at my job 29 years. But things are changing. I am starting a new career and starting meeting new people, networking with new people, and it's not comfortable. So now I have to realize, okay, this is a reason why it's not comfortable, to push myself
To do something.
to get out of it. It doesn't make any sense. You know. So that's what you have to recognize, like you
Right.
said.
Or you become numb. I mean, some
Yeah.
people work in the same place. They don't move forward. They don't think about getting any better at it. They're just, you know, it's just a 9 to 5. This is what I do. Get my coffee, get on the train. It becomes robotic, and you're not growing from it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another way to be, but it's a choice to be complacent. It's a choice to say this is it for me, and there's no growth in that. So, you know, you should be changing. You should be meeting new people. You should be getting out there.
Plus, that's why we need people more like you, myself, and Dee, because we really want to reach people and help them and you know, change
understand
their
that.
lives.
Well, that's why with you calling me, not knowing.
No idea. I literally got a text that said, call this person and here's the number. And I was like, okay.
Well, this is what we're trying to get
all
across.
That was it.
And you just called me.
And I just called
So,
you.
and then I just said, well,
I had just gotten off the phone with him, and he said to me, I'm going to send you a number, a phone number and a name. I need you to call her. That's all he said.
wow.
Well, you're
If
truly
he had told you
amazing.
more, do you think you would have called, or you would have?
Well, I was like, all right, I don't know him very well to begin with. So I'm like, who
I
is
know.
this other person he's connecting me to? But it was really funny to me because I'm in the middle of doing something. And this is always, it's like, you know, you hear a little voice and you're like, go away, and you don't listen. But then when you pay attention, it turns out to be
Right.
something super important.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to just say how can we reach you? Because we have a few more minutes
I
left.
have a website.
Okay.
I'm also on Facebook. And I
Want to
can
give
be
your full name and your website?
Sure. It's Natalie Lillebois. It's the website is naila910.wix.com /N Lillebois. It's LILAVOIS. Or my I have email nlillebois@yahoo.com is probably the easiest one, as well as my cell phone. I don't know.
Well, I'll be
Yeah,
putting
that-
some stuff on my
yeah.
Facebook also, your information
Sure,
also
sure.
on Dee's Facebook.
Because you go
You're
to,
amazing.
well, since you're in the schools and what have you, and you're going to be now branching out into the other districts, but since you also have all these other programs that you're dealing with,
Sure.
because we didn't really get into the Malik,
The Malik Melodies.
yes,
Sure.
and what have you, so you go
Yeah,
into
my cell phone and for
yeah.
text is 516-476-2592. So that's probably the easiest way to reach me.
Well, thank you. You're amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Yeah.
you having me here.
Well,
it was wonderful.
yeah,
It
thank
was
you.
lovely meeting both of you.
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much for pitching in for Plan B and making it Plan A.
That's
and,
right.
and you
That's
know,
what we
sharing
do.
your passion and your journey. And we're going to have you on again with some of your
My sisters.
your sister friends. And
I'd
see
love to do
you're
that.
also a Delta too.
No, I'm not.
No? Oh, I thought I saw you.
No.
Oh, okay, I read that. So. Okay, neither am I.
Okay.
Well, New Yorkers, we really didn't embrace all that. So
That's all right.
It's all good. But definitely we'll be.
Well, thank
Having
you.
you
Thank you
back
for having
again.
me. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you again. And thanks for coming out for Passion for Life. And we'll be back next week and we'll have some more friends out and sharing their knowledge and their journey. Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye.